I welcome you with love. Peace be with you. Today, I'm going to ask a really interesting and critical question. It's the question that God asked Adam after he and Eve ate of the tree of good and evil, tree of knowledge. And the question is, God said, "Where are you?" Now, it wasn't that God didn't know where Adam was physically. Of course not. That wasn't the question. The question is, where are you in your consciousness that you think you can hide from me? Now, let's take that question a little further, because it's the same question that God also asked the prophets. Where are you? And that's the same question this one asks himself and obviously is asking you. Where are you? Now, this is not the same question as who am I, which is a question about knowing the self. This is a question about where are you? It has to do with where are you in your consciousness, where are you in your actions. So let's go back to the first where are you question. And what really happened when Adam and Eve, also known as Hava, ate of the tree of knowledge? What happened is they saw themselves as separate from God. That's huge. That's a major downgrade in consciousness. The whole point of the liberation path is to become one with God and to the place where we are no longer separate, like in I amness, which is still, it's a good kind of level of consciousness, but it's really not the truth. The truth is when we dissolve into nothing and we are not as part of the whole. And Adam and Hava, even though they had a little bit of a separate consciousness, not until did they eat of the tree of knowledge did they see themselves as separate. Now we have a problem, because we are no longer awake. We are unawake. Just different than how they often talk about it. Oh, they awoke. Wow, they awoke to separation, which is the state of being unawake. Because in liberation, we are awakened to our oneness. So, first question is, where are you? Which is appropriate, because do we see and experience ourselves as one, or as separate person doing their own thing, needing or not needing some external force we call God? A lot of the world doesn't want to believe in God. Let's make government God, whatever, or nature God, and then some understand the need for God, but not necessarily understand the need for not an external God, but to be one with, which is the highest state of awareness in yoga world, in the Vedas, and also in the Torah tradition, Torah liberation tradition, is to be one with God. So the first question is, where are you? Am I in oneness, consciousness with God? And the bigger point is, all of us people living on this three-dimensional plane of time, space, and energy, most everyone is in separation consciousness. The whole spiritual path is about going back to the oneness, where our world, as we say it in the Torah, our will becomes God's will. God's will becomes our will. And in that oneness, it's profoundly, profoundly powerful to understand that. And that's the oneness we're not in separation consciousness. That's the key. And that's one level of understanding the big picture. Now, there are 2 or 3 questions that need to be answered along the way. Well, how do we get there? And then on top of that, the where are you question applies to what we call in the yogic Vedas 2 kinds of dharma. Your personal mission or gift to give in the world, and the highest mission, which is to become one with God. So those are like the 2 kind of dharmas that we have, which is living in a way that wakes us up to our oneness, and living in a way that allows us to fulfill our particular mission and gift in this world. So we have both going on. They do require something that is key, which is a question everybody asks me. Well, how do I know what God's will is? That's a very important question. How do we do that? Well, the most profound way seems to be through meditation, where the mind gets quiet and we're able to go beyond the confines of the big mind into the oneness with God, even for an instant. But in that instant, or in that 10 minutes, or whatever it is, because we're all a little different here, we do get the alignment. It may come through right brain intuitive awareness, or it may be completely outlined, but we get the alignment. That's the place where we say God's speaking to us. I know for myself, the first time that happened was after receiving Shaktipati, awakening of the Kundalini. And as I came down out of the nothing, which was the first time I had been there, where nothing was happening except a little voice rang out and said, you need to learn to eat in a way that supports the Kundalini. Well, at that time, I wasn't really sure what Kundalini was in a big way. So that was a mission that went on and still going on since 1975, and the basis of writing my first book, Spiritual Nutrition and the Rainbow Diet, in 1986. Following the dharma, following God's will. And the truth is, this one wasn't even asking. It just, there it is, quiet mind, beyond the mind. And the second major time that happened was in 1983, after a 40-day fast. I get the next directive. Okay, so that's almost 18 years later. 45, I don't mean that, 45, 8 years later. And that directive is to go to your roots. Okay, so it happens, but we have to be in a place to have it happen. And meditation, in my experience, is the most direct, most powerful way. Can we get an intuitive directive? Absolutely. Can we walk in nature and kind of get hit with a message? Absolutely. But in terms of the overall picture, meditation is the most important thing. Why? Because it helps create a quiet mind. And this is what I talk about with the 6 foundations, which are a way of being that create a quiet mind so we can rise beyond the mind. Now, that's why I've actually changed in the evolution of the Tree of Life to focus primarily on meditation retreats. Because this seems to be the most important thing. It's the thing it seems to be everybody around the world seems to need, is the power of meditation. And we know, my observation, Shaktipat meditation is a very, very powerful way to be able to tune in on your truth. Just came back from Brazil with a 21-day retreat there, and it was a delight to see that literally literally all but one person was able to have that direct experience and feel much more aligned with the divine will, which is what we're talking about. And so meditation is important. That's why I'm doing these meditation retreats. So we'll kind of keep that in mind. Now, what else helps? Well, a quiet mind. So when we do yoga asanas, it helps create a quiet mind. When we do breathing exercises, it helps create a quiet mind. When we are involved in service and charity, working in spiritual groups where the focus is on turning inward, repeating the name of the divine. These are all things that help create a quiet mind, and as much what we call Shaktipat, or in the Hebrew tradition, Haniha, where the spiritual awakened energy helps us break through and awaken, because Shaktipat and Haniha help awaken the Kundalini, help awaken what we call the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Spirit, so that energy then can take us to a place of quiet mind. And we have it within us, where we are empowered with that. So that's part of what I do in these meditation retreats, is we actually give Shaktipat 3 times a day, 3 hours of meditation a day. So it's all about helping us go beyond the mind and the goodies of aligning more deeply with the divine will. Other ways of understanding divine will include understanding the great spiritual traditions and living in that way. Because when we live in the way of the great spiritual traditions, it also takes us to the quiet mind. And being open to any intuitive understandings. So we're talking about 2 levels here now. The bigger divine will and the guidance of our special gifts that we want to give to the world. Not that we want to, but we have the divine directive to give to the world. So this turning inward to a quiet mind with meditation is one of the most powerful ways to tune in. Now, why am I even talking about this? Because as this one travels around the world, it's one of the most common questions. How do I know what God's will is for me? How do I know what I'm supposed to do? How do I know what my dharma is? And as I've looked at the different possible answers, it really comes down to create a quiet mind, to go beyond the mind, which is with the power of meditation, and that's the place where we're most likely to experience the space where we can get a direct knowing of the divine will for us, for our lives. May you be blessed that you're able to tune in and experience the divine will for yourself and the divine direction that comes from it. Peace be with you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Takiwasan.